Ahoy there folks, I'm Captain Benzie and welcome back to another video talking about EVE Vanguard, CCP Games' new first-person shooter. I know a lot of you folks have shown a lot of interest in learning more about EVE Vanguard. We've just received a new email. Obviously, I don't know if this has gone out to everyone, so I thought what I'd do is put together a video talking about this email, what it means going forward, and how things are going with the development of the game. Yeah, it's basically going to be a video of me reading an email, but there is some really cool information in here that I think folks are going to be interested in. So we're going to jump straight into that after the usual opening messages. If you do enjoy this video, if you find it useful, insightful, let me know. Drop a comment down below about what excites you, what you think about all of this going forward, and hit like on the video. Both of those things massively help the channel out by helping to promote my content to more people. I love getting the little comments on these videos of people saying things just like, hey, commenting from the algorithm, and I can actively see that my channel is being recommended to more new people, so that is really cool. Thank you so much for all of your help with that. Also, big shout out and thank you to everyone who does go the extra mile to help support the channel financially. Means the world to me, and if you fancy doing so as well, you can join my Patreon, where you can pledge to support each month and get your name in the stars at the end of every video, or I have a PayPal tip jar if you're the kind of person who just wants to do like a one-off donation. Both mean the world to me. Both are linked in the description of this video. Whilst you're down there, whilst we're talking about the description as well, there are also links to the EVE Online, referral link. You can go through there if you play EVE Online, get 1 million free skill points, and the Cat Skull Community Discord is linked down there as well. Great place to come along and talk to a bunch of people about EVE Online, EVE Vanguard, all things EVE, and indeed a load of other video games besides. I am still trying to branch out into others. Anyway, all of that said and done, minus the little brain fart in the middle there, let's jump into talking about the new First Strike update coming to EVE Vanguard. So at the time of me making this video, this is me here on the 21st of November, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon as I'm making this. I haven't had the announced tomorrow bit come up yet, so we'll have to see, and I'll probably do another video on that like later this afternoon and release that one tomorrow, so do stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't already, making sure to ding that bell to get notifications. So a sneak peek at some goings on. Thank you for registering for updates for EVE Vanguard. We appreciate you taking the time to do this. As a quick thank you, we wanted to take the time to give a little heads up that the dates and times for EVE Vanguard's opening event, First Strike, will be announced tomorrow, the 21st of November. So be sure to look out for an email about that when it lands. Obviously, if I get that email before this video goes live and I've got time to make that one, you guys won't be seeing this video, but we'll see. In the meantime, we wanted to give you a little behind-the-scenes info on some bits and pieces. So they did a play test recently, a technical test, which they have labelled as a resounding success, which gave them tons of useful insights at this early stage of development. So a few things that they've learned, and thanks again for those of you that took part. Now, a lot of people have asked me, did I take part in this? I'm just going to say right up front now that if I had taken part in a way that I was allowed to talk about, I would be talking about it. If I'd taken part in a way that I was not allowed to talk about it, I wouldn't be talking about it. And if I hadn't taken part at all, I also wouldn't be talking about it. So obviously NDAs are a thing, non-disclosure agreements. If you see me talking about something, it means I'm allowed to talk about it. If I'm not talking about it, it means I'm either not allowed to or I just don't have anything to say on the matter yet. So just bear that in mind and make of that information as you will. What went well in the test? Well, players enjoyed the combat experience, teamwork, and playing as a squad, which I kind of get looking at the footage and that they showed at FanFest of EVE Vanguard and all the crazy stuff going on there. The combat experience looked like a lot of fun, and working as a team and playing as a squad seemed to be absolutely right up there with the core ethos of EVE Online. Working together to achieve a goal that is greater than the combination of the sum of all parts. Essentially, 3 of you in a team are combining together to do more than 3 individual players could achieve on their own. And I love that concept. That is a central core tenet of EVE Online, and so to see that in Vanguard is a really good thing as well. People also loved the game environment, the audio, and the immersion, and I fully understand this as well, like the graphical fidelity of Vanguard, even in this early stage of development. Like, if you go back and watch some of the footage there of EVE Vanguard as shown at FanFest, like when you've got CCP Shortfall and his team actually demonstrating the game live on stage. It is just a visually impressive game that has this real atmosphere to it that just feels right at home in the EVE universe. And that's, of course, extending beyond the fact that obviously what you're looking at is very visually similar to what you'd expect in EVE Online as well. Like, there was a crashed bowhead, and it does look like a bowhead. But I also just mean that, like, the guns and the combat suits, the generic environment also feels very real to EVE Online. The audio as well, again, having watched that clip and some of the footage that we had at FanFest and then having done so in headphones, oh my goodness, yeah. It just feels really polished. For a game this early in development, it feels so polished, which makes it very exciting. However, they also had some points of what needs improvement, so there was some confusion over what to do and how to do it. Talking to CCP Shortfall about this, there is a thing in-game where you can pull up sort of a contract menu. You choose which objectives you want to go for, and I think perhaps some people may have, struggled to get hands-on with that kind of interface, especially with it being sort of early in development, not necessarily having that as a real obvious thing, and not having some of the information perhaps as clear as it could be. I don't know. Again, this is just what they're saying they found from the test and what people gave them as feedback. So obviously here they'd be looking to get some clarity on how to improve that. Moving forward, those are systems that I imagine they're going to sort of improve upon, so having a bit more clarity over what you actually are doing when you are planet side and, well, how to do it. And okay, here, what needs improvement, always on squad voice chat was a concern. I kind of get this. I'm on the fence about this kind of thing, because a game like this, you need to be able to talk to people. There's a part of me that thinks that if I'm going to jump into a random group and there's going to be 3 of us going down, and no one has squad voice on, how do you communicate? How are you going to actually interact with your teammates in order to properly achieve the goal? This is where I hope maybe something like an Apex Legends style context-sensitive ping system may be in the game. I don't know, that could be really useful as a way of doing that without the voice chat always being on. I do understand the concerns as well. I'm not sort of... I'm gonna get accused of being political either way on this. I'm merely voicing what I've been told by other players. I know several female gamers who play things like Apex who don't use the squad chat, because as soon as they out themselves in inverted commas as a female, that opens them up to all kinds of abuse. I actually know a couple of gay people who have had a similar kind of thing as well, where just the way they talk, I don't know, I think gamers can be scum sometimes, it's not just gamers, I think anyone can be scum given the opportunity. I like to think humanity is better than that, but unfortunately my experience of gaming has shown me that no matter how good a community is, even as awesome as the EVE Online community can be, there can always be some, poisonous apples sitting in the barrel there somewhere. So I get why that could be a concern. I imagine what they'll want to do is have an actual opt-in system for this. I'm hoping it's not default on or default off. I'm hoping that there is an active, as part of the onboarding process through the tutorial or the first-time user experience or whatever you want to call it. I'm hoping that there is an actual toggle that the game literally brings up in your face and says, which of these do you want to start with? I think there are pros to having it on as default and cons to having it on as default. The same as I think there are pros and cons to having it off by default. If you have something on or off by default, you're forcing people to understand that there is the option to turn it off and just innately know that and where to look for it. Same if you want to have it off to start with, you need to find a way to let people know that they can turn it on. I think just having it as an actual visual thing when you first come into the game saying, this does use voice chat, do you want it on or off? And then you can change that later in the settings. I think that's the way forward. I don't know. Moving downwards, though, we got some great quotes from a post-test survey too. Here are a few of our favourites. So, overall shooting mechanics were excellent, movement was good, sound was also excellent. I very much enjoyed the opportunity to see more of the EVE universe from a different vantage point. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. I love the fact that we are now getting to see, I know people who played Dust 514, myself included, have kind of had that experience before, but you've got to understand that was a long time ago. That was 2 console generations ago. Not a lot of people currently in the EVE sphere may have had that experience. So for those people, getting to see EVE from the planet side view is really cool. Like, we're used to flying around on spaceships and doing everything through contextual menus and, interacting from what is quite a hands-off way in EVE Online. So getting to be much more hands-on as a style of gameplay at surface level, really, really cool. Like, I played Eve Valkyrie for a while back on PlayStation 4 as well, and I loved just getting to see Eve on a much more intimate combat scale there as well, so I really agree with that. I love getting to see Eve from that different vantage point, and I'm really excited to see where this game develops and what kind of other environments we can get to see. I would love there to be some station environments and things like that as well, not just planet side, but actually raiding a space station. I think that could be really cool. What does the inside of a Guristus or Galente or Minmatar space station actually look and feel like? That could be so cool. Yes, the atmosphere of the game was amazing, really well done. The sound was immersive, graphics look really good where complete. The crafting menu was relatively intuitive, just needs to be a little more clear on why something is blocked. Okay, yeah, fair enough. I mean, we saw this with in the tech demo that they did at FanFest as well. I can't remember what it was that was blocked off, personal shield or something like that. Having an understanding of why it's blocked off and what you need to do to unlock it, great. Any visual cues that you can have for this kind of stuff, really good. And I do like this as well, that, yeah, a lot of things can be very context sensitive, like in gameplay in general, in gaming in general. Like first-person shooters nowadays, if you've played Call of Duty or Battlefield or Apex or Titanfall or, pick any first-person shooter, then someone says to you, hey, have a go at this one. When you pick up the controller, you inherently kind of know how to play. Like, your left trigger is going to be to aim, your right trigger is to fire. You know that the left and right sticks, what they do, and you usually know which button is going to be to crouch or to jump or to, reload. We've kind of got into a habit now with gaming of actually making all games use this kind of similar language. We use there's almost a default controller layout. Same as if you're playing on mouse and keyboard, you understand that, like, left click may do the, like zoom in and right click is to shoot, aim and shoot kind of thing. All the kind of things that you are used to having as default, that kind of language. Jump back to the PS2 era and even the early PlayStation 3 kind of era, and you'll find that a lot of games used wildly different control variants, and you'd need to learn everything and rebind and remap and that. And of course, rebinding keys, remapping your layout is a thing that we kind of have come to expect from modern games, but it's nice to just be able to pick it up and play it as well. And so this actually extends into visual cues as well, audio cues, things that one game does and then everyone else learns from. I loved the fact that, for example, PUBG on mobile used to have the thing that when you got shot from an angle, you would actually have the damage marker showing which direction you got shot from. Same with sounds on screen. Even games like Dead by Daylight started doing that on mobile, having these visual markers for audio information. Other games have then started doing that as well. We've learnt to become sort of more accommodating to gamers, and that's not a bad thing. It helps you get into a game quickly, understand what's going on, and it's nice to see that they're taking this kind of feedback on board as well. Third comment, felt very solid. Gun connection feedback felt more solid than Dust and Nova. Sound feedback of the automated turrets felt powerful and scary. AI were very prescient, maybe a bit too dialed in. Seen is correct, if they could sense you looking at them from a ways away. I like the biomass and reclone system. Death is not the end. Yeah, some cool feedback there. Again, I've talked about the audio of, like, the gun and the feedback. I don't know necessarily what it feels like, but I do like the sound profile used. It's a brilliant story. I can't remember exactly which Call of Duty it was. I think it was one of the Black Ops, where one of the the game designers who was leading up the balance team talked about how they had a very low usage rate for one of the shotguns. And when they looked into the data as to the shotgun, like, the impression that people had was, I don't use the shotgun because it's too weak. And when they actually looked at the stats for it, they kind of thought that the gun might be a bit too powerful, if anything. So what they actually did was slightly nerf the shotgun, but went back and redid the sound design. They made the shotgun sound snappier and have a bit more of a visual punch to how each shot looked. And just by changing the audio and the visual feedback of the gun, even though they technically nerfed the stats, all they put in the patch notes was that they had updated the shotgun. And suddenly people were using it more. They'd actually nerfed it, but because the sound and the visuals had been upgraded, suddenly people were using it because it felt better. It felt more powerful, even though it was technically worse than it was before. It's amazing how our brains can do this in games. So yeah, I agree that like the gun connection, feedback, sound, that kind of thing, very good. And this is clearly coming from someone who's played Dust and Nova. I've not played Nova, I'll be completely honest. The automated turrets felt powerful and scary. The AI, I'd kind of like to imagine that there are obviously AI that are going to be using scanners and things, so they're going to be able to pick up on you from there. I think there might even be some cool equipment you could add into the game that would allow you to sneak up to someone a little bit closer, like how Dust allowed you to change your loadout and your suits and things like that. For different environments, almost like an implant setup in EVE Online terms, could be really interesting. That like you could have a set of implants, for example, that made you just better at a full frontal assault, whereas others that maybe make you slightly worse at a full frontal assault but give you better ability to sneak up on someone. All kinds of stuff like this you could do, and that's a pretty cool idea. I felt the biomass and reclone system, death is not the end. Again, that is so EVE Online. In EVE Online, if you die, you just come back in your capsule, right? Yeah, you've lost your implants, you've lost your ship, but you can just reship and get back out there. As a core tenet of EVE Online, we are all semi-immortal demigods in EVE Online, and so that is being carried forward into Vanguard 2, and I like that. I like the fact that when you die, it's not necessarily, oh, well, back to the lobby and wait for another queue time and in we go. No, it's actually, I can just jump straight back into this match and keep going. Again, this is kind of one of those things that's almost become ubiquitous, but it didn't used to be. Go back to like PUBG or Fortnite, when you were downed and then kill, you know, when you were downed, someone could pick you up. But if you were killed, that was it. It was Apex Legends that came along with the idea that when you're dead, someone can pull your tag off your death box and actually spawn you back into the match. And that's something that Apex was widely and understandably praised for, because it reduced downtime for players. It meant that death wasn't the end. Oh, something really bad and unforeseen happened to me. Well, off we go, back to a loading screen, back to a lobby, back to a wait timer, and then another loading screen, and then the whole process of dropping in and looting up and all again. No. You're straight back into the match. You can just loot up where you left off, maybe even grab your old loot back from your old box, and in you go. And you can do that in Vanguard as well, which I just think it's a really positive way to get players connected and back into the game as quickly as possible. We're thrilled to be embarking on a journey to craft an innovative EVE first-person shooting experience with you, and hope to see you in the game very soon. As a final thanks, here's a little sneak preview of the character profile you'll be seeing in the EVE launcher. And I'm sorry, that just looks really cool. I love this sort of artwork here. It's almost the Triglavian suit, and everyone loves the Triglavian suit in EVE Online, let's be honest. It's obviously not Triglavian. It doesn't have the right sort of stuff going to it, but it's a Vanguard clone soldier. And this adds just that little bit more depth and flavor to EVE Online. I don't know. I think obviously anything that they add to Vanguard also adds flavor to EVE Online and vice versa. There's so much possibility here for crossover, and that really does excite me. Anyway, that's all that's in this email. Just an update that there is some information coming along. The game is developing nicely. A little bit of a conversational talk about what we know about Vanguard and where this could possibly go. As I said, if I have time, if this next email arrives with enough time for me to do a recording like this, I will just put that out tonight and screw this video so you won't ever see this. If you're seeing this, it means the email arrived a little bit too late for me to do that. There will therefore be a video tomorrow. So do stay subscribed, do ding that notification bell, and if you don't see an alert from me at 1700 UTC tomorrow, then come back and check. YouTube has this really funny thing that even if you click subscribe, even if you ding the notification bell and set all notifications, it still kind of goes, do they really want to see this one? And I hate that, because you guys have said, yeah, I like this guy's content. I want to hear more about this. Show me everything. And YouTube goes, did they really mean that? Come on, YouTube. Just give us a bell that means, yes, show me everything. Like the amount of times I've put out videos fairly recently, actually, and then people have commented on other videos of, oh, have you done this or have you done that? Like they've commented on one video that they've watched, and then there's been like a week, and then they comment on another video asking about something that I did in that past week. Like I know they've been watching my content because they were watching it last Monday, they're watching today Monday, and there was one on Wednesday last week that answers exactly what they're looking for, so YouTube didn't notify them. So yeah, every Monday to Friday, 1700 UTC, that's when you can expect a new video from me, and all things considered, unless there is some absolutely massive news for EVE Online, expect another Vanguard video tomorrow, Wednesday, 1700 UTC. Check it out, and I'll go over what is coming in First Strike. Very excited about this. Hope you are too. Let me know what you're most excited about. If you were part of the test, and if you can talk about it, let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your experiences and what you thought of it, and what your experiences were like during that test. I can't wait to get my hands on this and be able to showcase it to you folks. It's really exciting, and that's from someone who doesn't really enjoy first-person shooters all that much. I'm absolutely terrible at them. I might actually do a video on Apex Legends just to showcase how terrible I am at this ahead of time so that people know what they're getting into if they're going to watch me doing some Vanguard content. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching right the way through to the end. Coming up next, you're going to see the names of all the awesome people who support me on Patreon. Remember, if you do want to support this channel financially, you can do so via my Redbubble merchandise store, my Patreon page, or my PayPal tip jar. Thanks for watching right the way through to the end. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden!